site of the original St. Jerome Church. It was first built in 1619 with the arrival of the Spanish, and it was built with forced native labor. So when our colonizers reached us, not only did they force Catholicism upon us, but also labor to build Spanish missionaries' homes and churches. And so at that time as well, our people were being persecuted for practicing our native religion. So when Catholicism first came here, our Puebloan ancestors were very inviting. They welcomed it into our homes. But after so many years of this persecution of our own religions, they decided to resist against Catholicism. And so the Kingdom of Spain did not favor our resistance. And so as a result of that, they did call all of our spiritual leaders to the Santa Fe Plaza in 1675 to negotiate terms of our survival. Now in Santa Fe, that was the site of the capital in the 1600s. And so at that time, our spiritual leaders were brought there to give us an ultimatum to either choose Catholicism and the ways of our oppressors and to do away with our native way of life, or to continue to resist and to continue to practice our native religions, and they would continue to punish us in harsh ways like slave trade and sometimes even death. And so our spiritual leaders had a choice, and they chose out of the best interests of their communities. They chose life. Now, despite this agreement, they did hang half of these leaders in the Santa Fe Plaza to give an example to the rest of us as to what will happen should continued resistance occur. Now, the rest of these leaders were to be sent home to spread a message among Pueblo country that we were to do away with our native religions and fully embrace Catholicism. However, before they sent them home, they ordered all the conquistadors in our communities to burn our kivas and our ceremonial objects. And so this outraged the rest of these leaders. And so instead of going home, they came here to Taos Pueblo to plan the Pueblo Revolt of 1680. So the Pueblo Revolt took about 5 years to plan because it took a lot of time to get all of the leaders on the same agenda as us in terms of revolting against our oppressors. Now, some Pueblo communities didn't participate as they feared retaliation. And so those that did were called here because we are the most isolated village in New Mexico. And so at that time, we had a certain level of protection. And what they did is they decided to take the yucca plant. So the yucca grows here in northern New Mexico, and from it grows long, thick, stringy leaves. And so they took those leaves and they tied knots inside of these leaves. And they sent our runners south of here to all the other Pueblo communities with these knotted yucca cords. And they instructed the communities to untie a knot at the end of the day. That way, the last knot would be untied, would be the day they'd all revolt in unison against the oppressors. On August 10th of 1680, the Pueblo people of New Mexico successfully revolted against the Spanish Empire, pushing them as far south as Mexico. At this time, we also lost a lot of Pueblo communities because they were either wiped out due to the fighting or they simply left with our oppressors, again, fearing retaliation. Now, at that time, our leaders did order for all of us to rid ourselves of any symbols of Catholicism. So this church was destroyed, churches were destroyed and burned, crosses and statues were destroyed, and any baptisms or marriages that were done under Catholic rule were reversed. And so the Pueblo Revolt was the first successful indigenous-led uprising in all of these lands that we now call the United States. And so we do pay homage to the Pueblo Revolt because without our ancestors resisting and holding on to our way of life, we would not be who we are today. Certainly, Taos Pueblo would not be what it is. Now, our ancestors had peace for 12 years after the Pueblo Revolt. We were able to return to our own life ways. However, in 1692 is when the reconquest happened. Spain calls this the bloodless reconquest because when they re-entered our lands and our communities, they no longer persecuted our people for practicing our native religion. However, they still forced slave trade upon our people and slave labor, so that was still very much a reality. However, we found ways to coexist with our neighbors and continue our own life ways. Now, in 1692 is when they returned, and in 1706 is when this church was rebuilt again. Now, when Spain returned, they brought pigs, sheep, horses, more people, building materials, goods from all over the world. So we truly knew they were here to settle. Now, this church was destroyed for the final time in 1847 during the Mexican-American War. So during that time, this whole territory was not yet claimed by the American government or by the Mexican government. And this was also the era of manifest destiny in this country, where it was the belief that settlers had the God-given right to settle the West on behalf of the Catholic lots of ideologies and cultures trying to coexist in this place, things did not go well. It was a time of high conflict. Now, the American government sent a territorial governor out here. His name was Charles Bent. He made his home in the town of Taos. And so with him came more settlers, the American way of life, as well as a military occupation. And so all of these different, again, ideologies, this kind of site was very threatening and intimidating to people who were already settled here. And so, again, lots of conflict happened. After Governor Bent's arrival, weeks after his arrival, a group of Pueblo and Hispanic men went to his home to try to figure out terms of water, food, authority. Again, it did not go well, and they ended up killing Governor Bent. Now, as a result of this, the American government sent the U.S. cavalry here from Santa Fe to try to figure out who was responsible for his death. Unfortunately, our Hispanic neighbors did blame the Pueblo community, so the U.S. cavalry did march here to lay an attack on our people, just outside these walls here. Now, those of us who could flee into the foothills that you see back there were able to. However, we had folks left behind who sought sanctuary inside of the church, as their belief was that the church was a safe place for them. This was also during the middle of February, where we have very harsh winters here, and so as you can imagine, lots of chaos, and folks weren't able to get away as soon. As a result, the U.S. cavalry did bomb the church with cannon fire, with over 150 men, women, and children inside. So they did perish with the church. The only things that did survive the bombing is the bell tower that you see standing there, as well as the Virgin Mary statue that you'll see in the new church today. In remembrance of all that history and to honor those lives we lost, we do keep this whole area as a cemetery site. No one is allowed inside of it, not even me on a regular day. Tribal members are allowed in on 2 occasions, one of them being a burial that might happen, maybe in my family, or during All Souls Day. So on November 2nd of every year, we're able to go in. They open the courtyard gates over there, and we could come in and clean out the grave sites of our loved ones. There might be weeds that overgrow throughout the year or trash that blows over. So we're able to go in and lay down new candles and flowers if we want to. We do have a separate burial site that's located outside of the village area that accommodates burials that don't happen here. It is a family choice to either have a traditional burial on tribal lands. If they had a different style, they'd have to do it off of tribal lands. So that would be like a cremation or a casket style burial. Does anyone have any questions?
When you refer to Pueblo community, you're not referring to any one specific tribe.
No, I'm not. So I'm sorry for not clarifying that earlier. Puebloan refers specifically to the indigenous nations of the Southwest, because when conquistadors first set eyes on us, they saw that our homes looked like little villages, and so Pueblo or Puebla is the Spanish word for village. And so you won't find a Pueblo community in the Pacific Northwest or on the East Coast. It refers specifically to our style of our homes. So when we say Puebloan, I refer to all of the Pueblos.